This is a funny one. Not loving it, or one Big Mac attack, too many. Crime-ridden New York City McDonald's has started carding people at the door. Literally, nobody under the age of 20, unless you're with the parent, and you have to have an ID to get into a bar, a strip club. No, McDonald's in New York City. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Yeah, this is so funny. Let me show y'all something. You see how peaceful this McDonald's is? You see how there's no kids? You see how there's no turmoil? How there's nobody fighting? This is the McDonald's in Flatbush. You see how peaceful it is? Sir, what did you say?
Huh?
You said nobody's getting in that they not 20, right? You IDing at the door for McDonald's, right, sir?
That's not what I said. That's
I'm just saying.
It's what the sign says.
Outside, like, it's crazy. Stop messing up people's place. Stop messing up the people's place. You got niggas waiting outside because they over here tearing up people's place. This is crazy. This is sick. Sick.
When I first watched that, I thought she was upset that that's what was going on. But literally, she recognizes, okay, got a bunch of kids running around that are just up to shenanigans, aren't they? Yeah. See that a lot. Just kids wildly out of control. What's up with that? Just no discipline? Zero discipline at home? Are there any parents at home? Half the time you have to wonder, right? It's like 2:00 in the morning and some 16-year-olds running around in some car doing, sideshows and burnouts. And you're like, when I was 16, I was at home or I was somewhere where my parents knew I was. And if I wasn't where I said I was, there was going to be some accountability. There was going to be a talking to. And so you just didn't do that. But these kids, they're out of control. It was one Big Mac attack too many. Crime-ridden Brooklyn McDonald's is carding customers at the door and forbidding anyone under 20 to enter without a parent or proper ID. And what might be a first for the fast food Goliath. I don't ever remember hearing, you're going to need to show your ID at McDonald's. But it makes sense because they can kind of control that with the security guard out front. And if they don't have a bunch of knuckleheaded kids, and we're going to read about some of the ridiculousness that these kids have done, I don't blame this McDonald's for having security guard and saying, nope, let's see your ID. If you're not 20 or above, you're not getting in. It's interesting they chose the number 20. The restaurant at Nostrand and Flatbush Avenues took the drastic step last week after a group of kids wearing ski masks swirled in after school and attacked a security guard, breaking a glass door, according to manager Amber Hussein. I don't blame them for having a security guard up front saying, nope, you can't come in, because that's a privilege. Going into a restaurant is a privilege, and if you abuse that privilege, out you go there, Sparky. Out you go, right? No one under the age of 20 is allowed in this restaurant without a parent and proper identification. Manager. You know what? They have every right to do that. It was a crazy scene, recalled Hussein, age 19. Hussein wouldn't be getting in. Not getting in. Every day after school for the year she's worked there, somewhere between 15 to 20 teenagers come in and trash the store, throwing ice at customers, snatching bags of foods from Uber drivers, and smoking weed inside the restaurant, Hussein told the Post. Smoking weed inside the restaurant, that's a nice touch. Hey, you want to take the kids to McDonald's? No, those hooligans are smoking the devil's lettuce in there. We're not going there. We're not doing that. No, sirree. The McDonald's in the area named The Junction is infamous in the neighborhood. It's been the scene of multiple shootings and stabbings over the years. Yeah, there has been just some absolute crazy stuff happen at this McDonald's. I mean, just nutty stuff. September 2011, 18-year-old boy was shot in the head in broad daylight as he was entering the eatery, sending him rolling into the street in a brutal, carefully planned attack by two accomplices. 2012, a manager assaulted a 24-year-old woman trying to order after an argument over the food. So far in 2025, there have been 29 calls to 911 there, according to the New York Police Department. All right, so we're February 25th. So we are, call it 2 months. Let's round up to 60 days just to be comfortable, right? and you got 29 calls. So every other day, a call to 911 is made because of children acting badly. Yeah. And by children, I mean anybody up to the age of like 30. Because so many of these kids, they are physically and age-wise, they're in their mid to late 20s. But, mentally and emotionally, they're operating on 14, 15-year-old? Oh, that's what we're doing. That type of level. So don't let them in. I'm okay with that. Police data shows more than 100 calls to 911 were made inside and in front of the McDonald's in each of the last 3 years, with 121 calls in 2022, 103 in 2023, and 111 in 2024. 111 calls. I mean, every 3 days you're making a call, right? Can you come help us? Got some bad kids doing some bad stuff. To those familiar with the location, it's no surprise. This is just like the McDonald's I talk about on the Blade in Seattle. It's on the corner of Pike and Pine. It's literally on the corner of 3rd Avenue, and I think it's Pike? I can't ever keep those two. They're P words. P-I and something E. McDonald's right on the corner in downtown Seattle. It's literally 2 blocks away from the Pike Place Market where they hurl the fish. And it is one of the most violent corners. It's probably the most violent corner in all of Seattle. Shootings, murders, stabbings. I mean, you name it. Open air drug market. It's just horrific. And yet there's McDonald's, but I think that McDonald's has been limited to they, cook all the stuff in back, and they've got just a, like a thing that they open up and hand the stuff out through, so they don't have anybody that actually comes into the store. I don't think their front door works. You know what I mean? She's like, no, we'll hand this out. And we'll, put the bag out through the security window, and you guys go mosey along on the Blade there. So if you're from that area, you know that McDonald's is horrible, says Sania Blissing, who grew up in Flatbush. People fight in there. It's not just kids being kids. People get stabbed. Delivery worker got jumped. He passed out. It's a tough McDonald's. It's a tough McDonald's in a tough part of town. And so now... Now you got these jokers here. A group of students raised their fists in protest over the age restriction policy Friday. Getting stuff at a McDonald's is a privilege, you little whippersnappers. And if management determines, we're going to make this an age-restricted establishment, I'm totally okay with that. Screw the kids. They can send in a parent. The article goes on to say the afternoons at the Flatbush McDonald's can be quiet until the high school students roll in after class. I wish I could remember where it was, but there's a news story I read a handful of times. These things go in cycles. And they were talking about a 7-Eleven where there was a rush of kids that would come in the morning before school, basically just take whatever they want, leave. Then there was a mid-afternoon after school was out. Let's all go to 7-Eleven together. We'll just rush the cashier and take whatever we want and leave. And then at night, they would do the same thing, but in bigger groups. Hey, let's just run in there and grab whatever we want. Shoplifting en masse. And when you've got one cashier and maybe one other person, and you've got a group of 50, 60, kids that show up on their bicycles, literally the bicycles littering out front, right? There's not much you can do. So here, at least at McDonald's, we're not going to let you in. You look like you're young. You look like one of those jokers that's been, fighting in our McDonald's. We don't trust you. Need to see your ID. Oh, and you're not old enough? Go get a parent. Bring a parent in. Oh, I'm sure these parents are pissed. Now the kids are like, we can't even get anything McDonald's. Well, how come? We've been doing stuff there. They would never even admit that, right? Bola singing, or whatever the name was, 20, was initially shocked when she went to the McDonald's after school last week. One of its 2 security guards demanded to see her ID to get in. Serves you right. There's a whole bunch of innocent kids that are like, oh, what? We got to do what? Why? But it's indicative of the greater way things have gone, right? Yeah, we're just only letting people in that are over 20. This is crazy. This is sick, she said in a video she posted on TikTok. But to some, it makes perfect sense. What do you expect a business owner to do? Wondered Clyde Smith, 48, a law clerk from Flatbush. This was always a place where kids would cause trouble. McDonald's did not respond to the post's request for comment. Hey, you want to say something about this? You're not letting the kids in. No. Don't think so. No, not really. Because we're going to do just fine. We're McDonald's. People are still going to come in here because they know what they're going to get. They're going to get, is that even really considered food? I mean, when you go to McDonald's, I enjoy a good chicken sandwich from McDonald's. No, fish sandwich. Maybe it used to be a number 2. Now I think it's a number 7 where you've got 2 cheeseburger meal. Yeah. I mean, and then you just feel ill after eating that. You're like ill. You stuck a bunch of poison in your system, but it's so good, right? It tastes so good. It's like candy. It makes you feel terrible. And you're like, why did I do that? Well, because I don't have any self-discipline. That's why. How about this next story? It's this next story about a store. This is in Brooklyn. Deranged vagrant slashes New York City store clerk with machete. Tries to torch him in gum dispute while out with no bail. I mean, these stories just don't get any better. A violent vagrant with a string of Big Apple assault busts on his rap sheet is finally behind bars after cops said he slashed a clerk at a Brooklyn discount store with a machete and tried to set him on fire. Homeless people love fire. They love it, love it, love it, love it. All because he couldn't afford a stick of gum. Joaquin Hidalgo, 35, couldn't come up with the cash for the gum at the Brooklyn 2.99 store in Bushwick on Monday, so he pulled out a machete, threatened workers, slashed one, take that, slashed one and doused him in lighter fluid before setting a flag outside on fire as he fled, according to police and prosecutors. Let's break that down for just a moment, shall we? Don't have enough money for gum. Can't come up with money for gum. You whip out a machete, which is typically, 3 feet long? I mean, it's a big sword, right? You whip out a machete, you whack the store clerk. Well, now you're not getting your gum. And then on your way out, you see a flag. You see a flag outside, and you decide to stop and let said flag set the flag on fire. What is wrong with you? Just another nut job running around with a massive criminal history, right? When cops caught up with Hidalgo, who was on the streets despite open cases in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Staten Island, the vagrant was finally held on bail. Yay! Took you long enough, right? Took you long enough. Well, we believe in having compassion for our fellow murderers and rapists and criminals. We love them, love them, love them. That's why we let them out of jail so often and so frequently. He is locked up for now, the one law enforcement told the Post. But we have to make sure that he stays there or this ticking time bomb will continue committing these random acts of violence. More acts of escalating violence with machetes. And now arson. Yeah, you got machete assault along with a little bit of arson, attempted arson. Just lighting stuff on fire. Who runs around with a machete and lighter fluid? A criminal. That's who. Give this guy give him 2 years. Although assault with a deadly weapon, a machete, maybe he needs 5 years, maybe 10. I don't know. Let's round up. In these cases, round up. When you've got criminals running around, round up. We need all the help we can get to get these criminals off the streets, right? According to police, Hidalgo walked into the Broadway discount store shortly before 1 p.m. on a Monday, grabbed some gum, but didn't have the money to pay for it. Instead, he allegedly pulled out a machete and threatened the stunned store employee, slashing one in the left hand and pulling out a container of lighter fluid and pouring that on the injured man. Not only did it light a flag on fire outside, but he poured lighter fluid on the injured man. What if he poured it on the guy's hand? That's kind of smart, right? It's when somebody says, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. And you're like, oh, when they're pouring alcohol into your open wound. Police said Hidalgo then fled, but a flag outside the store on fire, but set a flag outside the store on the fire before running into the Chauncey Street subway station where cops later caught up with him. He's just hanging out. He's just sitting down on a bench. He's just, didn't get his gum. He's thinking about his life. He's got his machete sitting next to him, and he's got his can of lighter fluid next to that. And, and he wonders why he gets busted. These people, right? I mean, these people are just... He was arraigned in Brooklyn criminal court on Wednesday and ordered held on 25 grand cash bail or 50,000 bond on assault, arson, robbery, and a slew of other charges. And he shouldn't even be out, should he? No, because he's got all that other stuff going on in multiple jurisdictions, another 3 jurisdictions. Hidalgo had remained free without bail until now, despite a string of arrests, because the lesser assault charge he kept getting hit with is not eligible for bail under state bail reform statutes. All right, there you go. That's why you got a whacked out nut job on the streets, because you got state bail reform statutes that say, misdemeanor, no go. All this stuff is getting, knocked down to a misdemeanor. It's not happening. It's like a parking ticket, right? You can rack those up all day long. Guys here in Seattle, 80, 90, 100 of them. Who's counting? You know what? It's a collection. Look at me go. Got a collection of misdemeanors. According to court records, his last arrest came on Thursday in Brooklyn, where he was charged with assault, attempted assault, harassment for allegedly slugging another man inside the holding cells at the New York Police Department's 73rd Precinct Station House. All right, we got assault in there as well. Assault inside of a holding cell, a jail. Yeah. He was at the precinct after getting busted the day before on charges of possession of a knife and disorderly conduct at Ocean Hill subway station when a strap hanger, somebody riding the train, right, spotted him smoking in the transit system and carrying a blade more than 4 inches long. That's just a day that ends in Y in Brooklyn, in New York, Brooklyn subway system, right? That's why Hochul keeps sending hundreds into the thousands police officers, New York City National Guard, New York National Guard into the subway system, because you got a bunch of nut jobs running around who should be in the criminal system, incarcerated, or they should be in some kind of nut house because they're literally nutty. They're crazy. They're crazy. And you let these people run around and you wonder why you got these stories coming out where, hey, whack somebody with your sword, with your machete, and then you tried to light them on fire with lighter fluid. So here's our guy right there. He looks like a nice fellow, doesn't he? I mean, he probably spends a lot of time in the library. Yeah, he's up for some Citizens Awards. I mean, he's working on getting his degree in economics, don't you think? I think so. He's really moving up in the world. He's really getting somewhere. All right. Anything else we got here in this story? Was released without bail and a bunch of other stuff, multiple arrests, one after another. This is just normal stuff. Here we go. He's now being held at Rikers Island on the latest Brooklyn arrest. Not for long. He'll get out. He'll go do something else. And you know what? Some judge will say, we need you to be a good boy. Can you be a good boy for us? I'm going to let you out. If you promise, you need to pinky promise that you're going to be a good boy. You're going to be a good boy. And he comes back in front of that same judge. You weren't a good boy. And judge looks at his rap sheet and it's 500 single line items long. Just absolutely nutty. All right. I've beaten this one to death. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for watching, listening, whatever it is. And I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.